are live. Live in the building. This a little bit this way. Sweet. Let's see if my mic is working. That's right in front of the chat. That works. Stop talking.
We stand here to fight.
Boo, boo, boo. Well, let's check the. Is the audio working? Let's check the. Is the audio working? Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's see here. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. They're advanced. is the Mr. Spy doing? Let's take a peek. How are the futures looking? Futures are flat-ish. They're a little up. Futures are flat over there. Not flat so far. If anyone's in the chat yet, just throw me your questions. Talking the stock market. I'm gonna grab me a water. I forgot. Kicking it off. Answer the question. Live on Twitch. Even if the sky is falling. Anyone in the chat? Let me know your questions. Just doing some live charting if you're here. If you have any specific questions about the stock market, please let me know. Maps, baby. What up, Dylon? You know, it's strange. We have the same name, actually. Just the right way. There we go. I think you were here last week, right, Dylon? I'm trying to remember. There's a few people. You still in here, Dylan? I don't see you on the list. So just making sure. Okay, no response. I won't maps. I won't do an analysis on maps if you don't answer, but that's okay. Mapping it up, mapping it up. Mapping it up, mapping it up. Mapping it up. Yeah, mapping it up. Mapping it up. Mapping. I'm sorry, everyone who's trying to get into the chat. You got a 30-second ad. Apologize. I can see how that would be very annoying. Sorry, everyone who's trying to get into the chat. You got a 30-second ad. Apologize. Let us know what you want to chart. But while people are coming here, there's some really interesting action going on in these monthly SPY charts. Very, very interesting stuff, I gotta say. Let me get some rid of this bullshit. Make this a little less clunky. Let's go the 50-day, see where the 50-day is. Let's do the exponential moving average to see where the 50-day is. They are the same. Okie dokie. Let's go the 20-day. Let's see where the 20-day is. Okay, I think that's a realistic pullback point. 14 viewers. Is this correct? If you have any stock questions, please let me know. I'm doing live charting and analysis. Just waiting for some questions. Waiting for some questions. Waiting for some questions. Yeah, yeah. Waiting for some questions. Sadly, I got rid of my Twitch. Oh, sorry, Jeremy. For the article, we are also live on YouTube. Sir. Who's in the chat? Is anybody in the chat? Is anybody in the chat? Also live on YouTube. Is anybody in the chat? On the chat. On the chat. Chat. BD Hedges on the chat. Big picture. BTC. Yeah. Okay, we could do some BTC. What is up, bro? Thanks. I think you're the first one in the chat, so Mr. BD. You still there, BD? Let me know. Hey there, would like to hear you take on big picture Bitcoin, bull market, bear market outlook, specifically Bitcoin in the long term and short term technical analysis. Well, let's take a look there. If you're still in the chat, for some reason it's not showing me who's in the chat. But if you're still there, please put a comment so I know you are. Let me know if you in the chat. It says 15 viewers, but there's nobody in the chat. Okay, let's do super long term. Okay, so I would say in the short term, it's looking like if it can hold 30K, it's looking pretty bullish. I'll do the log chart first because the log chart looks a little less gnarly. Because there's been such an intense price action in Bitcoin, sometimes it's nice to use the logarithmic chart because it kind of smooths out the really dramatic uptrends. And so when I look at it on found stream from StockTwits on PaySafe, nice Monday. I'll go to PaySafe if BD Hedge, you still in here? If BD Hedge ain't in here, then I'll go to PaySafe Monday. Thanks for coming in, by the way. It's not telling me who's in the chat anymore, so I'm not sure if you're in there, BD. But if he's not, I will go to PaySafe. I'll give BD a couple seconds. Oh, no advertisements out here, bruh. BD, you still there? Going once, going twice. Monday, you still in the chat? I need to get a little bit of new message because if someone's not in the chat, I'm not going to do the chart. PaySafe. Been beating me, man. Okay. Sorry, BD. You the man, but you didn't respond, so I'm going to Monday. Thanks for hanging out Monday. Got it when it was, oh yeah. I bought PaySafe back when it was BFT as well. I bought it like 12 bucks. So I sold it on this rip. So I just made a YouTube video to give you a little bit more context on how everything has been going. We're going to be covering probably want to pop that in the stream as well so that you can watch that later on tonight. But we can do some technical analysis right now. So here's some positives that I like about the stock in the big picture. So let's talk big picture first, because that's why I also made the initial investment in this company, is because I liked where we were looking at on the big picture. Let me switch my screen real quick. Okay, why is that not coming up? 1 second, man. For some reason, my Chrome's not coming up. One second, dude. What you think about Maps? It seems like they keep getting more acquisitions and partnerships, but it's get shorted, yeah. 1 second, bro. My freaking thing is not popping up right now. Give me 1 second. I gotta redo my Chrome app on my thing real quick. Give me 1 second. Foley needs more PR on it. Yeah, he's very quiet. This is really annoying. Chrome. That source. Excuse me. Done. Let's blow this boy up a little bit. That's good enough. Okay. One moment, senor. Almost there. Aha, we got it. Okay. A cap. I'll cover Maps in a minute. So Monday, what I like most about this company long term is it's looking like we're still getting some institutional buying. So on all my long-term holds or my long-term buys, I'm always looking at institutional ownership. So I use this site called MarketBeat. I'll put it in the chat for you. So this is a site I always use just to kind of see like what institutions are doing. And then I would definitely want to put my money where I'm seeing billions of dollars put into these, I'll call them quote unquote smaller companies at this time. And so what we see is like, we see a lot of these big positions bought more recently on the pullback. So this is not even the most updated one, so I know they've had more buying already, but like on 5/18 BlackRock bought $2 billion worth of the company, or Blackstone, sorry. So they increased their ownership in the company. That's a good sign. Fidelity, 600 million. So these people who own a big part of the company are increasing their positions, which gives that's bullish on to me. There's the people who are already in the company are buying more because they really believe in it long term. So that's like on the more positive side. I think where I'm having some issues is the company's projections compared to where their sales are currently at. And so I think that they are, like you said, they are, on the contrary, more institutions getting in. I feel like manipulation becomes stronger. That's a good point. I think it depends on how much institutions are buying. So when I see an institution put like a few million or a couple million to something, it starts to make me wonder if something else is going on. It makes me think like, okay, are they just hedging the bet? Are they buying to make it look like something obvious? Kind of like what you said. They're basically trying to make money on the short side. But when I see billions of dollars invested, it makes me think differently, and that's why I kind of said like I look for the big purchases, not for the small purchases. Small purchases don't really mean much to me, but I like when people are putting billions of dollars into something. So long term, those are positive things. On the negative side, they haven't shown that much revenue growth in the short term, which makes me wonder. So like even if we do annually, like for a company that is basically in the kind of like the e-commerce space, kind of, but like e-gaming, digital wallets, anything digital took off last year, and for this company not to see that much growth year over year is a little concerning to me. And I know when they originally did their reverse merger, they had really amazing projections on where they believe they could eventually go. I think this article might actually talk about it. Let me see. Yeah, so let's see if this article has it. Someone put this in the stock twits for us to look at. I'm not seeing it, but that's the one concerning thing to me is the growth. The growth is not looking that hot. And then even when I look at like how much money they have, like obviously they're not making money because they're pushing into growth because they need to hit their projections, but they don't really have that much cash, and that's going to be an issue. Like if they're burning that much money and we're in a bull market, like the top of a bull market, and they're burning that much money and they only have this much cash, that's a little worrisome for me. But really long term, I'm really bullish on this. And now we'll jump into kind of the technicals and see if we think it has more upside or downside in the more short term. So, like I said, watch that video I made on my YouTube channel, and go ahead and, if you can, sub to that Chill Deal Trades as well. Give us a follow. Give us a follow on here too. That'd be great. And if you have a sub hanging around on your Amazon Prime, we would love that as well. Thanks everyone who popped in here. See a couple of you. So right now, it seems like PaySafe is getting a little bit of hype on Reddit. So the short term is going to be very interesting to see what happens. I don't know what's going to... Yeah, we both agree fully isn't it? Exactly. I 100% agree with you that. Thanks for the follow, Monday. I agree that Fully's not an idiot. And obviously they're pushing money. They're pushing a lot of money for growth. And that's why they're not making any money. But the growth that they're seeing is just, it's not the projections that they put when they, like I was saying, I originally put, I don't think is necessarily matching in, like, I don't see, like, if they're not having any growth as a company year over year right now, like, how can they get to the big numbers they set in like 2013, 14, and 15? And so that's where I'm a little bit, I'm just kind of look at it, and that's why I'm trying to weigh, like, okay, are institutions putting billions of dollars, but their revenue is not growing that much, so maybe the big institutions that are putting billions of dollars have a belief that they'll continue to grow. I really like them getting into the digital wallet space. I love the e-gaming aspect of things because they're getting into sectors that are going to continue to see growth, and it might take a little while for those things to grow bigger and bigger, but they're going to benefit from it. But on a technical side, kind of like I did in my video, so obviously they had this big push up, which there's a couple, I don't know if I'll call them red flags, but let me change the color of this line so I can see what I'm looking at. 1 second. There's a couple things that are a little worrisome to me, unless we get a lot of volume on Monday. So if the Wall Street bets kids and men, whoever they are, continue to push volume in here, and like we had, I think it was 57 million, and PaySafe has 160 million share float. So a third of the shares traded hands on Friday. So if we continue to see really high volume come in here, like around this range, I would say 30 million plus, we could definitely see some more upside. But I think a couple things is this gap is not encouraging. So if anything's gonna see a reversal on the daily, I really like to see the gaps filled. That's something I always look for, because eventually, not all the time, but most of the time, like 90% of the time, stocks will come back and fill those gaps later on. That's great, yeah. Wall Street Bet's pumping up. I know. I want to break even and then look for a confirmation. Yeah, I agree. And so I would say if you're keeping an eye on this tomorrow morning, in the first hour of the day, you're really going to want to look for volume coming really quickly. So let's take a peek on Friday. So the first hour of the day, we saw, where's that candle? That's not right. Wait, this doesn't make sense. How's that 57 million, but on the hourly? Anyway, I would say in the first candle of the day, we need to see big volume like we did on Friday. I would say to confirm that this can go higher and squeezed higher by the Wall Street bet kids. Is kind of what I'm looking at. I'm noticing barcoding. I noticed barcoding. Not sure. Can you explain barcode coding? Barcoding. Is it a pattern? Stock is bought on weakness as the stock price falls on the top of accumulation range at the bottom. Barcode bar has a method in the daily and the visuals. Machine readable form. Initially, barcode data varies the width and space. What does it mean for the stock? Look up minute candles. Yeah, I don't know what barcoding is. Some things I just ignore because I don't think they're. Are you talking about these little gaps everywhere? Is that what you mean by barcoding? So like there's volume and no volume, volume and no volume. I'm assuming that's what you mean. All these gaps. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's strange that we've had that recently. When I stop day trading, I don't look at anything under 15 minutes typically anymore. That's like the lowest I'll look unless I'm day trading. Which I just don't do anymore. I don't really day trade anymore. Look at 12 o'clock. Oh, you're getting really interested. Did you see like an article somewhere or something? Uh, 12 o'clock on the drop top, cruising the streets. It's algo trading distribution. Gotcha. I mean, algos are always trading, right? Like, I mean, if I think about it, like, obviously how algos are alerted is obviously it saw this break and then the algos started trading it in some capacity more than they usually would, which could definitely be presenting for some of the data. But I think like to make it a little bit more simple, I like to just make things as simple as possible. And so for me, first hour of the day has to have volume if this thing's going to break back up. If it's not, then I'm looking for a gap fill or at least testing some of these EMA or SMAs in the short term. I think that's more of what I'm looking for if we don't see volume at the beginning of the day. Because obviously, the beginning and the end of the day have the most volume, and that's typically tells where a stock's headed. So, sometimes you'll see big volume come up, double test, and then work its way down. Or at the beginning of the day, there's no volume and it will break down, and then through the day it will come back up. Those are two like very basic, typical patterns that you see. Or it might just hang out here. I think those are the three options most likely. Or, I mean, there's so many options. You could also just break higher depending on volume. But, yeah, I'm just looking at a little bit more simple. Algos are always trading. Obviously, algos, people could be bullish then. But long term, yeah, I think I'm bullish long term. I would say it depends how much more pain you want to be in of potentially the price going lower. So I have a perspective that I don't think a lot of people have right now, or people have, but they don't really know when they don't have a time frame. So my time frame is in the next 3 months. 3 months I've been extending it. I think it's even less than that. In the next couple months, we're going to have somewhere between a 7 and 15% correction in the market. And so I've started to get out of some of my more risky, or if the NASDAQ goes down 5%, those stocks will go down 30% or 20%. Those are the kind of positions I've been slowly getting out of. And that's why I got out of PaySafe on this push up before I knew that Wall Street Bets was getting at it. If this gets volume, I might buy back in for a Wall Street's bet squeeze higher. But long term, I'm definitely bullish. I like the management. I think management team is something I always look at long term. Billions of dollars of money from investors, institutions is a bullish sign to me. But if we do see a correction sometimes in the next 3 months, and this doesn't push up any higher in the short term, then I definitely think this could break below 10. I think there's a possibility of that if we see a correction in the market, and that's my personal opinion that we'll see. And if it goes lower, you know, if it goes to in the $8 range or something, then I'll definitely be picking more shares up. But yeah, if you want to break even, I would say Wall Street Bets is going to have to get a hold of this in the next couple days for it to go higher. If not, then this is what I've been noticing with Wall Street Bet Reddit type things is if it doesn't move right away, then they get bored of that and they move on to the next stock. It happened last week with like Plug and then NNDM. Like there's all these stocks that got 1 or 2 days and then Wall Street Bets just moved to the next stock. That's kind of what's been going on. They just move a couple days here, they get bored, they go somewhere else. So we're going to need seed confirmation of this increase of volume from Wall Street Bets. And if we do, then like in the short term, I'm looking for this break of this trend line, kind of like you were saying. And then I think we have, so watch that video I made on my YouTube channel and go subscribe over there as well. I broke down more in detail my different price targets in the short term, both on the upside and the downside, and what I'm looking for. But long-term bullish, correction could break down below 10. And I personally am loading up on more shares in the long term because I like the company. But I'm going to move on to the next one. I don't think Mr. Maps is still here. Cap, he's still here. Mr. InCap. Mr. Cap. PSF, he has it all. What up, Viper? What do you mean has it all? What do you mean by that? Get that money, that shmoney. I'm curious what you mean by has it all. Break that down. Are you a long-term holder or are you just a short-term holder? If he's not WMC, interesting stock. Oh yeah. That's another SPAC, right? Long term, yeah, I agree with you. Long term, I mean, 10,000 shares, you're up a little bit right now. That's nice. Yeah, if you're long term and you don't mind a little more hurt to the downside, if that happens. Yep, I agree. I look Foley as well. Yep, GHIV. Yep, I remember that. Is that the company that they do like real estate imaging or something like that? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. No? Which one is this? Let me Google them real quick. Wholesale mortgage. Oh yeah, they don't want the dividend. Yeah. Yep, iGaming, digital wallet. Yep, that's why Monday and I were just talking about that. It's gonna be a while until they're a PayPal, but there's a possibility they can get that big. It's hard competing with those guys because they have so much of the market already. But obviously there's some room for other people if you build your company correctly. I think iGaming is gonna get extremely humongous. Yeah, they're huge overseas. Yeah, they're a European company, right? I think in the first place. Yeah, money. The one thing about the wholesale mortgage is the mortgage companies have kind of been going sideways lately. I had owned Rocket Mortgage, and they kind of just were going sideways, and then they got short squeezed from the Reddit people. They have 3 billionaires in it now. Yep. I agree, man. There's some big money in PaySafe. I like it for the long term as well. I'm on the same page. I think Monday's on the same page as us too. Monday has a little bit higher price though, so he's feeling some of the pain right now. Being down a little bit on his position. But I agree. I like it. I'll be buying more shares if it comes down. Yep. Yeah, you can it's on its way back up. We'll see, man. I have my own perspectives about the market right now. They might be a little different than yours, but yeah, well, you have to Viper, one thing that it's trending on StockTwits. I mean, not StockTwits, on Reddit. And it's starting to get the Reddit homies behind it. And so that's what I'm worried, that it's going to be a pump and dump if it does go higher. That's my main worry. Yeah, man, it has big volume. I agree, Viper. I'm just worried in the they make money. Yeah, it might just be a short-term hold if the Redditors get a hold of it, but it could definitely skyrocket if enough volume comes in. I think they're like there's definitely an opportunity for it to get pushed by the Redditors, but we'll see. I know, dude, the volume was big. You can see the candle on the chart. But it's mostly like, one thing I realized too is like looking at the daily, you also have to look at the hours. So sometimes the daily does not tell the whole picture. So like going down to maybe even a 30-minute candle, like all the volume was in the first hour a day, and then it was definitely a die off from there. So in the short term, I was kind of telling market about this, is we're going to need to see we're going to need to see big volume in the first hour of the day again, I think, or the first couple hours for this to move up higher. Just because it got pushed so high on the shorter time frames. All the readings are now at extreme levels. So I like the company too, Viper. I'm on the same page. I have a different outlook on the market in the next few months, and that's why I'm positioning differently in my portfolio, but I agree with you long term. I am on the same boat. I like the company quite a bit. We've been talking about it in our Twitch since, I don't know, for a while, last few months at least, as it was one of my favorite one of my favorite SPACs when I first found them, and I bought them down at like the $11 range before they reverse merged. Yeah. We'll see. We'll have to see what they do on earnings. That's the main thing. I've traded it 4 times, 12 to 17. Gotcha. And then you bought on the dip. Smart. Done talking about. Oh, there we go. No, we could talk about it. Viper and I were just talking back and forth. Yeah. So the thing about what's the company name? UWM. The main thing about UWM, and it's with a lot of the mortgage companies right now, is besides the short squeeze from the Redditors on Rocket Mortgage, they've kind of just been going sideways. And so, technically speaking, like they have great valuations. I think, what's the valuation? What's the PE ratio on this? That's not a correct number. I think they're at like a 9 or 8 or something. So like obviously there's a lot of positives. The valuation looks good. I don't think this number is correct. I think something's off, because there's no way that's correct. Even if it is, people are expecting the home buying market to slow down a little bit. A lot of people think that these companies have seen a peak in their earnings the last couple quarters. And so that's kind of why they've been going sideways the last few months ish. There hasn't been much movement. So that's one thing to look at, more of like a fundamental part of that industry, kind of generally speaking. Greeker. Oh, thanks for the follow, whoever did that, Ollie. Appreciate it, man. If any of you guys are in the chat, we'd love a follow or a sub. Yep, Russell. Yep, so again, add to the Russell. But if you guys haven't followed us on here yet, would love a follow or a sub if you have one. And then at Chill Trades on YouTube, I upload videos daily on stocks. I just uploaded a video on PaySafe today. 3 million buyback over the next 2 years. Yeah. But we'll move on from that one. Y'all can talk back and forth in the chat if your heart's desire. But with the mortgage, Greeker, I'm just going to say, I need to find a nickname for you. 19. You're called 19. Mr. 19. It's just the mortgage. People think the mortgage industry has spiked. And I'm pretty sure with UWM, the majority of their business are mortgages. They might do some other loans in there as well, but I'm pretty sure the majority are mortgages. And so that's what a lot of people have been saying lately in terms of like their market outlook is we're somewhere at the market's going to slow down because it got overhyped, which means people are going to be buying less homes, things like that. Their valuation is pretty low, so unless there's a big market correction, I don't know how much lower this can go. Their forward-looking 10 PE ratio, I think that's about the same as their competitors. Let's see if they have competitors listed here. Keyword wholesale Monday. Keyword wholesale brokerage. Not retail. Gotcha. You know what's weird though? Because I think my parents got a mortgage from UWM. And they did a retail one. So that's what's interesting about it. Let me look at it. See if we got a company description somewhere. Let's see if we see a breakdown. Residential mortgage lending. Retail? What do you mean by retail? I'm not sure. But mortgage loans through wholesale channels. Primary conforming government loans. Gotcha. I know they do a lot of things. But fundamentally of the company, I think I haven't done enough research in the competitors. But I think what I've done is there's a lot of, in that whole mortgage space, it seems like a lot of the PE ratios around that 10 right now, which makes them kind of at market value from what a lot of companies are. 10, 18, a little bit higher, 10, 7. Some of these are higher, but I don't know why. Gotcha. Bulk. They buy them. Gotcha. Big ones. So... we can look at some other factors to kind of see if there's a lot of short interest or something that's holding the stock down. But I think what's hard about the SPAC space is just so many SPACs went public that unless something grabbed a lot of... I remember initially WMC got a lot of hype, but it kind of died out. And so there have just been so many of these SPACs that have gone, it's not that high compared to their shares. I don't know if this is right. It says 1.6 billion shares. That seems like quite a lot. But the short interest isn't that large, so I can't see like a squeeze coming for that. They don't have that. They kind of have like whatever institutions. But if it's like if you want to just like long term hold this, I know they do have like a 3 or 4% dividend. So yeah, 4% dividend. So it'd be a great dividend play. I've kind of talked about how I think the market has a chance of, what's this point? I don't know why it says 0.29 PE ratio. I think something's off there with their reverse merger, or because they had this big, I don't know why they had such a larger, I think this is when the industry peaked first quarter. And so people are expecting this number to go down in the next couple quarters because people think that people taking out mortgages, generally speaking, have gone down. And so obviously their revenue is going to go down. And that's why their forward PE ratio is so much higher. They're expecting a pretty big pullback on revenue, but we'll just have to see with next quarter. Seems like a semi-ish low risk company to hold long term. Obviously the chart doesn't look that pretty. We can go to that right now. It went down to $6 or something. So obviously that's not the prettiest thing. Thanks Viper for the follow. I saw that. Thanks Dozer. Appreciate that. Appreciate the follows, guys. If you have a second, also follow my YouTube channel I post daily stock videos on things that I'm watching in the market. So go check that out as well. Would love a follow there. I put it in the chat. But obviously when all the SPACs were getting killed and everything, I mean, this isn't even tech, but SPACs were getting murdered. This is when this stock got murdered as well, it looks like. Oh, they only came back to $10. They didn't go any lower. What was this? Oh, this is the wrong company. UWMC. Yeah, they got murdered back when companies were getting murdered. So let's do some charting to see maybe where some price action could be, or if it's looking weak or strong. The first thing I see is I don't like this angle. I think companies will have a hard time holding such a... Whenever I see... So typically what I look for a long-term uptrend in a stock is I want more of an angle like this. What I see in stocks of kind of a 45-degree angle seems like the most doable for stocks, because when you think of angles this steep, is by July 26th it has to be at $15. What's the chances of it getting to $15 by that time in the next month? It's pretty low. And so I would like this stock to somewhat create kind of a trend line like this to see more long-term success. The stock doesn't have a whole lot of data for us to look at, which is not helpful, but yeah, there's not a whole lot of data to figure out when this company... I mean, one of the things I always look at is RSI. So typically what you'll see on RSI is if a stock is in a down phase, it usually stays below a certain level. So when the stock was going down, it stayed below 50. And like I said, there's not a whole lot of data, so it's hard to tell what trends this stock has created. If there's anybody else in the chat, please tell me the next stock you want me to look at after I finish this up. And to see like this, during the bull phase, it was above the 50. And it seems like it's trying to start that again. It bounced off it once, and we're going to want to see it stay up here. If it goes back below it, we could see the stock break down as well. So RSI, that's something to keep track of. Let's see where the 200 SMA or EMA is. Don't really matter which one. Okay, pretty important here. We're at the 200 day, looks like on this chart. Okay, so not ironic at all, but it's testing the 200 day, so this is pretty important. The chart, when we're speaking long term, does not look very healthy. There needs to be a lot of shifts on this stock to see it in a more healthy space. So as I mentioned, the first one is seeing RSI stay up here in this range. It can peak down, but we need it to come back above and stay up here. The second thing is we need the 50 day or the 100 day. I'll do that one next, ENPH. Thanks Skills for that. And if you want to hit that follow or subscribe, we would love that as well. Evening all, Holmes. What's up, Holmes? Welcome back, my friend. So we're going to want to see the 100-day and the 200-day flip. So the main things I look for bullish momentum in the long term is the 200-day, the 100-day, and the 50-day stacked in that order. And if they're stacked in that order, there's telling me that there's a bullish momentum to the upside. And right now that stock does not have that. I'm assuming if I do the 50-day here, shit, I just deleted that. I'm assuming if I do the 50-day here, the 50-day is going to be below the 100-day, exactly. So it's reversed. So that means it's bullish, it's bearish. But if we see that flip around as the stock starts to consolidate a little bit and maybe move higher, then that could be a bullish reversal. But we're going to need those EMAs or SMAs, whatever one you prefer to follow, to kind of change. Let's see where the 200-day is actually. Let's go the EMA for more short term. For context, everyone, EMA use more short term. SMA, simple moving average, you do more long term momentum. So let's see if there is a reversal on this. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna want. So there's a thing people call the golden cross. So the golden cross is when the 50-day and the 200-day change positions, and we saw it happen right here. And so that's a bullish it's a bearish indicator. And so the first thing we want to see is we're going to want to see these two things cross over. We're going to want to see the 50-day come above the 200-day like that. That's going to be the first, another bullish sign for this. But in the short term, my expectations would be for this to come down some more probably. Let's see where all these, let's see where the 100-day is. Not looking pretty. Let's see if we have the 20-day somewhere. I try to find EMAs or anything as a potential support first. And if I don't find any SMA EMAs, I'm looking on the chart. So looks like there's a bit of consolidation. Where is my, there it is. Seems like there's a bit of consolidation here. So I could see a pullback to this range, which is between the $9 and $7 range. If we do see a little bit more downward momentum, but it looks like we have a bit of support at 890, and it looked like it tried to bounce off there. So I would still like to see this angle go a little bit lower. I'll just project something out here. So something more like, this ain't a bad line actually if we ignore that big pullback. So either holding this trend line or creating a trend line more like this. So either, pleasure to be here. Pleasure to have you here, bro. So either we've had the pullback and we'll start to see some, it's bounced off this support, which is right in this area, and it's going to continue this kind of trend line up, or we'll see some consolidation and then hopefully it follows this trend line up. That's the bullish case. The bearish case is that it breaks back below and comes back down to this consolidation zone. I have a bearish perspective on the market over the next 3 months where I think we're going to see a correction. Not a crazy like drop in the market, but a small correction. And so that changes my perspective. But those are, I think, 3 pretty realistic scenarios for that stock. Does anybody, before I move on to the next stock, does anyone have any more questions? Thanks for the follow, Skill. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, my man. Hey, Dill, I practiced some trend lines today. Oh, nice, King. Bro, trend lines are king, bro. People try to make things so complicated all the time. Just draw some damn trend lines. Yeah, bro. As soon as you get on the chart and you just start messing around and drawing shit, it's a lot less. It's a lot less intimidating than you think it would be. So, yeah, trend lines is the simplest way to draw both bullish and bearish kind of indicator trend lines, as well as support and resistance. And if you can nail that down, then you can basically predict where stocks are headed. And then if you throw in RSI and moving averages and things like that, you can really start to have a good idea where a stock is headed. And it just takes time. I've been doing this, just practice with different stocks. I've started learning this back in 2012, which is almost 10 years now. I feel old. And it just takes time, And there's been waves where I've been more active trader and I was a less active trader, but these are the kind of things that I've tried to become more and more adept on. And obviously you have all these things people like to do and these really advanced strategies, but I personally love swing trading. I think that's my niche I've found. I'm not a very successful day trader. It's just not for my personality. And I feel like these are the things that are best to use for swing trading. And then I slowly add in skills over time. Like Fibonacci, you can sometimes kind of pair with trend lines and things like that, but keep it simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Okay, somebody said ENPH, so let's move on to that. You still in the chat, Mr. ENPH? I think that was Manafool. Thank you for the follow. If anybody has their Amazon Prime account, wants to give us a little sub, appreciate it. I'm just here giving to the people. And any support is helpful. Follows on here. Follow on my YouTube channel, Chill Ill Trades. I do daily update. I do daily videos, kind of highlighting where the stocks in the market that are having the most momentum or hype, and give you some analysis of where they could be headed. Okay, ENPH. I feel like I know this stock. Obviously, like I just said, I've traded for like the last 10 years, so a lot of these names have come by me. I use Thinkorswim to trade, but I started using Trading Views, I think is what it's called, a lot. The only negative thing about the free version of Trading Views is you don't get post and pre-market data on the charts, but I like Thinkorswim quite a bit. I think they're the best platform in my opinion when it comes to technical analysis. They just have so many resources. That's my opinion. Okay, ENPH. Is this the right stock, Mr. Skills? Make sure I'm on the right thing. I feel like this is gonna make me hurt. So I first heard about this stock back in like 2018 or something. Bro, I should just bought it in 2018. What was I doing? I could have been a millionaire. But anyways, so ENPH, it is energy company. Put in the description what they do. That'd be helpful. Design and manufactures software-driven home energy solutions, solar, home energy. Okay, so very trendy right now. Obviously, the stock has moved ridiculous amounts, which is pretty insane. From $5 to 170. That's a pretty insane move. Obviously, there's like some initial red flags, but I don't know what the company is expecting for their growth. The first red flag is a 285 PE ratio. That's insane. When you look at the numbers in the long term, but it could just, consolidate for a while and have their valuation. I got burned by SunPower. Dude, I bought SunPower too, so I get you. I only bought a little bit of it just as like, let me just see if this takes off with the solar boom, but obviously that was not the case. Okay. So even though I don't know a whole lot about the company's skills, the first thing I always do, if this is a long-term play for you, well, let me ask you first, Skills, actually. Is this a long-term or a short-term play? And then we'll go from there. And while you answer that question, this is my YouTube channel, everyone. Chill Ill Trades. Thank you for the 2 people who subbed. Appreciate that. As you can tell, I do daily videos. Come check it out. Okay, you are short-term trader. So some of the valuation doesn't matter to you. If this does become a long-term trade, this is super red flag to me in the long term. Having all these people selling out of their stakes for how much institutional buying this actually has is not a great look for it. But since you're a short-term trader, let's just look at the technicals because that's all that matters to you. Short-term, there has been a lot of momentum for solar lately. First Solar is another one that I've kept my eye on for a while, and I didn't buy it on the dip, which I should have. But that's gone up a lot, and looks like First Solar still has a little bit of momentum in it. So I could see the same story for this. What a gnarly chart, man. What am I on here? This is crazy, bro. That price change is absolutely insane. The chart doesn't even know how to read it because it's such a crazy price change. But what chart am I on? Daily chart. Let's draw a couple trend lines here just because it looks like it has held those pretty well. Anybody making some money in the market lately with everything running over the last couple weeks? That's not a great trend line. Imagine buying at 70 cents. Did you buy at 70 cents? If you buy at 70 cents, you should not be here. You should have a Twitch stream and you should be showing me. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine buying at 70 cents. You would literally be a millionaire. I don't know what that percentage increase is. Yeah, making money nice, King. Congrats, bruh. I wish, yeah, me too. There's some stocks back in the day that I followed that obviously there's some life changes that happened that I stopped being really intense on day trading, but yeah, there's a couple stocks I bought if I would have bought a couple years ago. Ooh, your boy would have been living large. But it looks like there is potentially a long term. Okay, I'm not even gonna go back that far. But it's held up pretty good over... Something on my chart feels wrong. Am I on the log? I was on logarithmic chart. That's fucking why. Okay. I think. Let me refresh this real quick, guys. 1 second. I think I was looking at the log chart that whole time. Okay, this looks better. I was looking at the log chart. I was like, something's off with this chart. It does not make any sense. Sorry if I just mapped that last stock on a log chart, everybody. But who cares? Okay. So basically what I'm doing right here, I'm just drawing some trend lines just to figure out, because I'm not too familiar with this, so I'm just trying to get an idea of the price action. And kind of what the stock's looking like, and any pros or cons that are showing itself. Okay, dokie. Okay, so it looks like we broke above the downward trend line from the peak, so that's a good sign. There's a lot of... all my indicators are gone. That's a really positive indicator. On the daily, we are overbought, which is a little bit of a red flag. But what you see is this stock can hang out and overbought for a long time. So, like, obviously there's a lot of back and forth there, but it likes to hang out there. A 74 reading on RSI is not a big deal for this stock because it has hit peaks of 87. So that's not necessarily a red flag yet, but that's just something to be aware of, that we are in overbought territory. So that's just something to be aware of. This is a pretty steep curve, or a pretty steep uptrend. So if we see the NASDAQ break out pretty significantly this week, I'm trying to look where the futures are right now. If we see NASDAQ break out significantly this week, which it could, we'll see, then there definitely could be some more upward momentum in the short term. This candle's not the most encouraging, if I'm being honest. I don't like candles with really big wicks. Even though it's a green candle, that's still not the greatest sign. Get in with more of a pullback. I was thinking of getting in with more of a pullback, yeah. So these kind of candles are not like the greatest. Obviously, whenever you see big wicks, there typically is a pullback when it's up high, and then on the downside, when you see big wicks, that can sometimes mean that some upside momentum is happening. So that's not a great sign, but that doesn't doesn't mean too much, honestly, in the stock market right now because there is so much bullish momentum in the stocks right now. So I would like this to cool off though. So I could see it coming, say in the next week. That's on the 2nd. I think the most bullish case would be a back test, even though it already back test this breakout line. I would say something like this could be a potential bullish. That's just me without drawing any more trend lines. That could be a positive pullback. But let's see if there's any other significant. Okay, let me get my SMAs in here real quick. Let's see how we're looking on the short term. Let's look at the 20-day because that gives us a better short-term outlook. Let's look at the 50-day. It might not, yeah. Who knows, King? Okay, it's pretty far back. Let's look at the 8. The 8. Okay. So it is starting to pull a little bit away from the 8 and the 20-day EMA. So I would like it to come back a little closer. But what we see is historically it can trail pretty high above the 20-day when it's in a bullish phase for quite a while. So what you kind of see is it pulls away from the 20-day, comes back, pulls away, comes back. And so it looks like it's starting to create a similar pattern now where it pulls away from the 20-day. Well, it got above here. It comes away, it pulls away, it comes back. It pulls away, and it could be coming back to test the 20-day EMA again because that seems like a pattern. But the stock did close above what I would call a pretty, tell me if I'm too close, guys. I have the mic really close when I'm leaning over. Let me see what we have here. We have a couple areas of consolidation in that range. So I think we definitely want a gap fill here. So actually, I wouldn't even consider that a gap fill. But we do have some consolidation in this zone, which is where it went to this day. So it could stay there. That is an opportunity. I think it depends on volume. So we did see volume peak up on that green candle on Friday, and I would say we want to keep around the same amount in terms of volume on the daily. Let me draw another trend line here. Okay, this trend line's super off, bruh. Let me redraw that. I doubt it's gonna hold this trend line. So in the short term on the most, let me come down a little bit on the candles. Okay, so we have a pretty steep trend line here to hold. I doubt we're gonna hold this trend line. And so I would be looking for the first support to be somewhere around 164 or looks like there's some support here as well. I would say if it does pull back, I would be first looking for a pullback to around 171. If it can't hold 171, then somewhere between 171 and 163 would be a range to be looking to add in. You can kind of just see like a lot of resistance and support in the past around there. Like you see it trying to break out in the past and then it being support, and then it was resistance, but we're back above that area. So now it's going to act as support. So if we get the handy dandy brush out here, 163 looks good. I agree. It does look like a very strong support line. It could like dip below that a little bit around the 160, but 160 to 163, it does seem like there's a bit of support. So it looks like it's not as realistic to hold this strong trend line unless we get big volume tomorrow. So I would first be looking for that support. Hey, I'm new here. What up, Gatsby? Hit it with the follow, bruh. Thanks for coming and checking us out. I would be looking for 170-ish range, and then if we can't hold that, something around in this, I would say 166 to 160 range, just to keep it a little bit bigger. Say 162. So 167 to 162 would be a pullback range, and I would want it to hold this trend line right here, and start coming back up. That's what I would like to see. But if we can't hold that 160-ish range, let's see where the next area of support would be. That's way too low. Seems like around, yeah, there's just a lot of support here, which is a good sign for this stock. There's a lot of areas of accumulation. I would say unless the NASDAQ breaks down this next week, which I don't believe it will, significantly at least, it looks like it's going to hold up pretty well in the short term. And the reason I say that is because there's so much support. And kind of like a way, shit, I just broke my line. Let me draw this one more time. It has just so much support. And support, the way you find support is through accumulation. So when accumulation happens, a lot of people are buying and selling. And then if a stock breaks down, there's more sellers. But there's still people bag holding there from the past, people who are long-term believers, and they're bag holding at that price. And then typically bag holders are adding to their position on the pullbacks. So there's people that are holding a lot of shares in this range. And so what you see is you see a lot of support and resistance areas. Accumulation here. You have a lot of accumulation here in this range. I mean, there's just so many areas of accumulation. And so if this does pull back, like I said, this, call it 170 to 159 range is going to be a ton of support. And so, yeah, it looks like it's going to hold up skills unless the NASDAQ breaks down significantly. And a pullback's going to be good. A pullback's going to be good for this stock because it's going to help reset this RSI a little bit, where RSI is still staying in a positive momentum. So when the stock is, RSI is above a 50, it's typically in a bullish phase. When it's below 50, it's usually in a bearish phase. And so I would like a little reset on the RSI just to help the stock move up further. So say this pulls back to that kind of 160, mid 160 range. The RSI is going to come back bound to this maybe like 60-ish range on RSI. And that's going to help it creep back up again. And so those are a couple, I would say those are the price ranges that you want to look out in the short term. Okay, let's move on to the next stock. Let's do it. We've been streaming for an hour and a half. Thank you everyone who's here. Whoever follows or subs and or puts the stock in the chat the first will get the next chart and or fundamental long-term analysis, whatever you want. But again, when somebody puts, "Hey, Melame, I don't get the wrong idea, but I'm not trying to flame you for sharing your insights." Who is this random guy? I'm not trying to flame him, but the stock spam doesn't do great for your image. You seem like you know what you're doing. That's the kind you speak for yourself without having to flood the forum. Okay, I appreciate the feedback, Dubs. So I want to give you perspective on why we're doing this. And so the reason that we started this in the first place, bro, your stream is good, but stop spamming it. So I want to give you guys context around why we're spamming and why we started this. Thanks, Gatsby, for the follow. I appreciate it. We started this because there's so many BS people online that don't help people out. If you go on StockTwits, there's just a bunch of bullshit on there all the time. I see 10 floods every 10 seconds under SPY. And the reason we flood it is because I'm trying to actually help people on a real fundamental trading perspective, and I think we're flooding StockTwits as much as people are spamming StockTwits with a bunch of buy or sell. And so I appreciate the feedback. Maybe we'll pull it back a little bit, but I feel like we're giving more. We're helping people more on the stream than people are getting help from StockTwits, and that's the point. The point is to get people in a community, in a space where they're actually learning something, and they can actually be successful at trading, and that's the point of this. So again, I appreciate the feedback, and it's noted, and appreciate it. But I'm trying to help educate people and teach them what trading is, what trading can truly be about, and how you can actually make money, and learn how to do things technically and fundamentally correct, where you're building long-term wealth when you're building wealth in the long term, and that's what our community is about. But I appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate it. I get how the image can look weird. Sometimes you gotta spam and hustle to get a good message out there in the midst of all the silly posting. But appreciate the feedback, man. If you guys have a stock you want me to talk about, go ahead and put it in the chat. Cheers, mate. Appreciate it, Dubs. Okay. Oh, is DS is that a stock? Or is that saying something else? DS. Driver Shack. Never heard of it. Let's look up what Driver Shack is. Spy. Lol. You're hilarious, Ali. That was a good one. I'm assuming you're saying that because we're spamming the spy. You know what, Holmes? Give me 1 second. I'm gonna cover Ali's because we've been spamming the stock splits, and you know, as much as I just got super serious on you about why we're doing what we're doing, you know, we are here to help people. And so let me hit the spy up real quick. Do you want long-term or short-term analysis, Ali? If you're serious about wanting and you're not just trolling me, do you want short-term or long-term analysis? Because those can go much different ways. Let's see if he's still in the chat. I'm not seeing a message, so I'll give you a couple seconds, Ali, to send a message. If you don't send a message, I will move on to the next. I'll move on from spy to DS. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, DS it is. I'll cover SPY in a little bit. If you're still here, Ali, just tell me if you want short-term or long-term analysis, and I'll jump into that. Homes. Okay, DS. Short-term or long-term hold for you, DS? Or for, sorry, Homes? Long term. Okay. Let's start with some fundamentals then and see how it's looking on a fundamental perspective. Swing trade. Gotcha. Swing like a couple weeks or a couple months? But I'm in for the long. Gotcha. Okay. So they're a golf company. Are they like a apparel company? Is that what they do? Okay, yeah, small company. Hopefully no more than a month. Gotcha. Okay, short float looks pretty low, so no short squeezes coming. Pretty small float. No, they own courses. Gotcha. Own courses. Okay. So pretty short, small float. So that makes me think that this stock can move violently if it does. Typically when I see something, I mean, it also depends on trading volume, but if I see under 100 million shares, I start thinking that this is a pretty small, a small float company. or has a small float of shares, which means it can be easily manipulated in price, either to the upside or the downside. So that helps me around. Get out of here, ad. No, Trump. Okay. Okay, let's just jump into the technicals now that I have a little understanding of the other aspects. Thanks again, everyone, for being in here. I know I just got a little serious on Ali if he's still in here, but again, the whole purpose of our community is to really teach and create a community. We have a Discord, create a community of people who are learning and thriving in the market together. And that's the whole point of what we're doing. So I hope you guys can connect with that and be okay with our spamming on StockTwits, because I know a lot of you guys found us on there. So, okay, this stock has sold off pretty heavily. Yeah, it's very volatile, obviously. Bottomed quite a while ago. That's what I like about it. I'm in for that as well. I see too much pump and dump scammers. Yep. I agree with you, Holmes. That's why we started it, man. That is why we started what we're doing. Because we were tired of it. We were sick and tired. Bro, I've been trading for so many years, and over the last year, I've seen so many BS people pop up on YouTube. I couldn't handle it anymore. I was like, there's some people on here not helping people at all, like understand what it actually takes to trade. And as soon as this bull market doesn't explode 70% in a year anymore, then a lot of people are going to be feeling a lot of pain unless they start understanding what it takes to trade in real life outside of a crazy bear or bull market. And so that's the point of it. Okay, less serious again. So let's see where the 200-day is. See if we're seeing some positive. Okay, structurally speaking, we have some positives. That's good. We see the 200, 100-day, and 50-day stacked. They're going to blow up all my trade accounts, and I have no more trades in the market. Yeah. Exactly. The crazy thing is those people are still going to get views after people lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in the market, which is the crazy part. Let's see if we still have a downward trend. It looks like we broke above, like a lot of stocks. This one actually, quite a while ago, hit a bottom. That was back in October. And you got the little pullback in May when everything got a pullback. This chart honestly looks really healthy. And I'm surprised that it had such a big pullback because, well, let me see when this pullback was, July. Because golf got really popular last year and people have been golfing like crazy. I had my old boss is a big golfer. Charger, thanks for the follow, man. I will go to that stock after I'm finished with you guys. Appreciate the follow, man. Let's check out these lines. Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing any red flags in terms of downward momentum. It looks like we've shifted away from downward momentum. When we look at the RSI, let me make a different line. We are above that 50 mark, and it looks like we keep bouncing off it in a bullish momentum. Besides the May pullback, which happened on all stocks, the reopening in the U.S. will benefit. It's because hotel demand. It's true. We'll have to see how much it ran already. Sometimes stocks run ahead of what's happening in the market, and so we'll have to see if they've already kind of priced that in or not, because that can happen in the market. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of positive momentum on this stock. There's a couple other things I'm seeing just to keep an eye on. This is tricky. Okay, it looks like we have an ascending, a janky ascending triangle is what I'll call it, because it's not the most like technically sound triangle, but it does the job. So RSI is looking healthy, EMAs are looking healthy. We keep seeing the stock, break out. It has a lot of volatility because, like I said before, janky triangle. It has a lot of volatility because remember when I said look at the available shares on the market, it's 87 million. When there's big days, like let's see what this day was. This day traded 11 million. that's, what is that? That's like 13-14% of the total shares, which is a pretty big deal. And so you can see these big swings because of there's not a lot of shares, and so that can create a lot of volatility. But in midst of all the volatility, we are still in an upward trend. It looks like it double bottomed back here, which is a good sign as well. You know, people back at this bottom were like, I don't want it to go any lower. I'm gonna buy and keep going back up. And so that's a positive. So I would be looking for a continuation in this triangle. RSI did come down, so this could definitely continue back up in the short term. Let's see if we're gonna have any resistance points. I'm gonna sell on the news if that does. Let's draw Thermalange. Okay, it does look like. So something to keep an eye on is this past point that was really big support, and when it broke through is now going to become extreme. It's going to be extreme resistance, and that's kind of what we see on the chart here. So when you look at the chart, we can see that it took these really big volume days to break out. Let me zoom in more to see if the days closed above. So typically when something breaks out, you want a confirmation day. And so it broke out, it came back below, it broke out, came back below the same day. We had 1 day breakout, hit the top of the ascending triangle, broke, no confirmation the next day, tried to break out here, failed. And then we have a big green candle here for some reason. I don't know if news came out. That looks like a news day. We see we see a try of a confirmation, but it has big wicks, which is sometimes a kind of more of a bearish indicator. And so that's why we saw the following rumor day. What's the rumor? And then we saw those red days following because of that really nasty candle with the big wicks on it. And so as you can see on Friday, it hit this is why I say charting, everybody. Get in there and start charting, because it's going to tell you what's going to happen with the stock. Like, this stock literally hit the top of that. It might get out of Russell. Ooh, that'd be a big move for them. I don't think golfing's going anywhere either. I started golfing a few years ago. I don't really golf anymore. But as soon as I started golfing, I just kept golfing. And during COVID, you had so many new people exposed to golfing that it's just going to keep going. It's going to keep trending upwards. I would say in the intermediate term. Obviously, as the economy opens, people are going to go back and play other sports that they enjoyed. But we're going to see the lag effect of a lot of people continuing to play golf, which sounds like that's going to be beneficial for this company. So I'm going to want to see a breakout above and hold above that for any more upward mobility, or any more upward movement for this stock, because we're seeing a lot of fill on the breakout. And so basically what that looks like is I want to see a breakout day, I want to see a back test, and then I want to see the more uptrend, and then I want to see something like that. That would be the best case scenario, because I also want it to hold this upward triangle. I want this triangle to hold on the up. I can't even see it anymore. Let me zoom out some more. I want to see that upward triangle out to next year, July, if we do hold that, or to April range. So, and then you'll have to see, it depends on like some of the readings, like where's RSI when it gets to the top of that triangle, if it gets to that point. Are we super far from the SMAs? If we're not, then we could see a breakout. And if we do break above this ascending triangle to the upside, you typically see pretty violent moves when it breaks out of a triangle. And so it looks like there might be some back and forth in this triangle in the short term, but we definitely want to see, I got the hiccups. We want to see a breakout above that big resistance point. That's going to be the name of game for this. If we do break above, it looks like there's also a pretty, ironically, this is so funny, man. As soon as you start putting trend lines, nothing's ironic. Or everything's ironic. Sorry, the other way around. We see this candle hit the top of that other support. So when you look at this chart, awesome, bro, thanks. Additional breakout. The addition could do the breakout. Yeah. HT, sweet. Yep, I'm going to get to HT right now. So yeah, look for that breakout. If it breaks out there, it looks like that's at $3.50. And I'm going to be looking around the $4 range. So if it breaks out, look for that $3.50 to $4 kind of sideways action or breakout. And then if it breaks out above $4, that's going to kind of call potentially hitting the top of this triangle. But if it breaks out the top of the triangle, then you have a lot of accumulation around $5. That's probably where the next price target would be if it breaks out of that triangle. But yes, Charge, I will now do HT. Okay, HT, is this a long-term or a short-term hold for you? Gotcha, yeah. I like that strategy, man. You know, selling some on the way up. Can never catch the top and bottom perfectly. So, swing for the earnings by late July. So you're going to hold through earnings or you're going to sell before earnings. Ooh, this stock has not been looking pretty in the long term. Before earnings, gotcha. So in anticipation of all the people buying in as they think that earnings is going to be a beat and people start loading in before. Perfection. Ooh, Holmes, you said it so, and that got me tingly inside saying something like that. I 100% agree. And it's hard. It's super hard not to be a perfectionist in the market. I've had my battle with that over the years because I really like being successful at things, and sometimes I can get really stubborn when I try to be perfect, and sometimes success looks like for me not losing. Growing up playing sports, it was losing is not success, and so I can get a little stubborn. So I agree with you. Perfection is gonna destroy your portfolio. Okay, yeah. So this has had a crazy downward momentum for this stock, but some positives for you. It does look like it has potentially broke out of the downward momentum. If we look at it, I'm going to kind of create some different trend lines to figure out where there could be some resistance in the short term. Broke above that one as well. Okay, a lot of breakouts in this accumulation. Yeah, this is a lot of accumulation, which is a good sign. So it basically went sideways from October till May. And obviously, as soon as it broke out of that consolidation, you saw this crazy move. And I'm assuming it was partially due to the reopening. But more on the intermediate term. That's what you're sounding like, a swing trade over the next month or something. We're kind of around the support line right now. So I would say that we want this stock to hold above. I'd say we want the stock to hold above 420 to 430 range. What's this line? Let me change this color again so I can see what's going on. So the 50-day EMA is at 427, so that could definitely be a pullback if it wants to pull any more. But we just had a pullback, and so that could be, you know, RSI resetting itself. As you can see, when RSI on this stock stays above the 45 to 50 range, it's in a bull phase. So we're seeing that happen. On the pullback, it stayed above that 47-ish number. And so this could be the short-term pullback, and it could continue to go higher. As we can see, we broke below that really steep downward trend line. Let's draw another trend line here to see where we could be headed. Ironically so, we kind of bounced off that trend line there. Let's get rid of this since we already broke out of that. So looks like we're holding. That's a terrible trend line. Let me redo that. So we broke up below that trend line a little bit, but nothing too worrisome because we're now back above it. So it looks like this was the reload zone for people. And as you can tell, it's between those two prices that I put. So the first one was at this support on this big candle. And the second one was, where's that other price point I saw? Is at this. So before it tried to break out at 445 both times. I'm hoping to jump in around 450. To jump in around 450. I am hoping. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to go down any further, honestly. I think unless the markets break down over the next 2 weeks, like SPY and NASDAQ go down, it looks like this has found the reload zone. So obviously we had this crazy run upwards. RSI got overbought, and then the pullback. And then on the pullback, we broke above. We can even do a less steep one for anyone who is more. Nope, that's not right. For people who might not feel the same way, we're looking like we're trying to break out of the other trend line. So unless it gets rejected here and comes back down to test this kind of pullback range, this looks like this was the load zone for people. And when we look at on this daily candle, this was an inverted hammer. I think it's called an inverted hammer. When there's no wick on the bottom and only a wick at the top, that's typically a reversal candle. So you just see the same thing here. You see no wick on the bottom, big wick on the top. That was the reversal candle for the way back up. And that was the reload zone back here. Come up, come back down. That was kind of like a bear flag, a bull flag kind of pattern. And you saw that candle with no wick on the bottom. And you see the same thing here, no wick on the bottom. So that could be the reversal. So if you want to jump in, it sounds like it might be the time now. Maybe buy half your position. If this does get rejected, let me redo this trend line. So everyone watch, you can either do trend lines at the top of the wicks or at the top of the bodies. People have different ones they like to do. But you can draw both of those just to give you full context of what might be going on with the stock. So technically we still have a trend line we're trying to break out of, but this does look like the reload zone charge, just as a heads up. And it looks like it wants to move higher. We have two supporting trend lines. We're above the 50 and the 50 and 100 day. Let's see where the 200 day is. See if it's above or below. Yep. Ironically, okay, yep. That was definitely the reload zone. It held the 50 day, it held the 100 day, and it reloaded at the 200 day. So if this stock keeps going up, it looks like the 100 day and the 50 day are going to start curling upwards. So when your SMAs are sideways, it typically means it's some consolidation range, which what we saw right here, a couple days of consolidation. And we're most likely going to see the 50 day and the 100 day start to curl back up, which is getting that bullish momentum back after this consolidation of a couple days, this pullback range for people to buy again. So it looks like we're back to an upward trend for the time being. We held trend line, we held support. Let's look for where there might be. Do you feel the move to 7? Let's take a peek. So an area to look at is we have a lot of accumulation back here. So this whole range is going to be a big area of accumulation for the stock if it can't break above it. So at the top of the range, we have about $8. So if we get a lot of bullish momentum, I would say somewhere around the $7.50 to $8 range. What I'm going to be looking at is if this stock continues the upward move, I'm going to be looking for it to hold either this more high inclined. Also, it would mean a lot if you could briefly explain what open interest and option means, because the 750 call on July something has open. I'm not a big options trader. I don't have a lot of understanding in that. My buddy who streams with me, who's not on the night, if he's in the chat, which he might be, I think he is, he can kind of give you a little Nate, if you're there, do you want to just break down that open interest? I don't have a lot of understanding on what that means because I'm not a big options trader. But he'll write something in the chat if he's in here. So yeah, there's this big accumulation zone here. So let's look where some support and resistance was. Okay, he's gonna take a look at it for you. Charge. So at the bottom of the range, I have 550. What's our price currently at? Shit. What are we at? We're currently at 520. Okay, so we're heading into that past accumulation zone. So I'd say at the bottom-ish range, I have Oh man, this is what gets challenging for stock sometimes is 605. Let's see if we got past 605. We did. Okay. Is there's typically a lot of bag holders back here, so people who are holding on and people who held on and they're still holding. My eyes are itchy. Ton of allergies lately. There's just a lot of accumulation. Basically means there's a lot of bag holders typically, and so you're gonna have a lot of people selling off. They're like, I've been down since May of 2020 on my position. I just want to break even at this point. And so you're going to have a lot of people selling. And I think that's why when this stock originally broke up into this range, you had to sell, because people who were holding on in the past got rid of their positions because they just wanted to make a little bit on it, or they wanted to break even. And so I would say in the short term, we need to break above this zone. It looks like there's some accumulation here. And when we go back here, this 550 zone is the bottom of this range of this accumulation. So we need to break above that 550 in the short term. And it looks like there's an upward trend in the stock, so that looks doable. But I definitely see seven-ish range as definitely a price target. I could see us continue to go up in this, what was past accumulation for this, as long as the indexes. And I keep saying it on every stream if you've been here every week, you really need to pay attention to the S&P and the NASDAQ, because the stock market's going to move with that. There's so many new investors in the market that are very sensitive to price action. And so when people see the SPY breakdown, they think that means their stock is going to break down. And so people start selling. And it's not necessarily the case, but that's how people are trading right now. And so you need to pay attention to the S&P and the NASDAQ. So yeah, this 550 range is going to be a lot of resistance. If we can see the stock break above this 550th price range and follow this trend line. So I'll just draw a trend line. If it can follow this upwards, then we can definitely get to the 750 range. If we look at this chart, we have the two trend lines meeting at 750, or we have the two trend lines meeting at... We have the two trend lines meeting at 650-ish, 630. So maybe about around noon, for example. Maybe around noon, for example. Yeah, when the market dies down a little bit. Yeah, it hit 480 as a high. 480. Yeah, hit the low. Yeah, 480 was a low. So yeah, I would look for a hold of this trend line. If it holds that trend line and continues upwards, RSI is in a healthy spot that over the next month it can continue to move higher. Or if it slows down a little bit out into August, but you're only holding till July, right? Okay, let's see. Let's put your date that you want to sell. What day is their earnings? Image. So I can put it on the chart to kind of figure out where the stock, how much upward movement the stock would need. July 28th. July 28th. Okay. So you want to sell it before July 28th. So we have that marked on the calendar. Okay. So if you want to sell it, if we hold this uptrend, I got rid of my... If we hold this uptrend, going back and forth, I would say the price we'd get to is somewhere between 650 and $7 most likely. I can't imagine this trend line goes higher degree. We can see how this trend line's... Yeah, I don't see it going that dynamic. Thanks a lot, dudes. Thanks, man. If you got a second and you want daily updates, also, this may be a SWB stock. Gotcha. Yeah, man. When they get a hold of stocks, those things go craze. Tiger Woods, dude. Tiger Woods just followed me on YouTube. Everybody, that means everyone should follow me on YouTube. I can't believe that Tiger Woods just followed me. Thanks, Tiger Woods. But. Yeah, so I would say somewhere between 650 and maybe 750 at the highest. But if this stock slows down, then somewhere between $5 and $6. Those would be my two price range by July 28th. If we hold these trend lines, that's the most important thing, is we have to hold the trend lines. Okay, everybody, I'm going to be on for, I'll say, another 20 minutes. Would you have a stop or nah? Oh, nah. What's my name? Let me see where stop loss. I would, this is hard. I would say this lower trend line, because if we break out this, break below this, let me get rid of these lines, because this is, well, first thing is, if we can't hold this down, if we keep breaking, if we can't hold this downward, if we can't, if we can't break above this downward trend line, then it could continue to kind of make this kind of price action, you know, and then that's obviously not good for the stock. But if we break above, I would say the stop loss would be below this lower trend line. So I would say somewhere in the 420 range. 420 would probably be my first stop loss if you want a more tight stop. It's hard because this stock is pretty volatile when it moves. You have pretty big price action on these candles. Like the average candle is like 50 cents, which makes it hard to put a stop loss. Do fast ETF, I will. I got you, King. It makes it hard to put a stop loss. But in the worst case scenario, if it breaks below this lower trend line, then I wouldn't want to be a holder. Are you more $7 or $5? It's hard, man. It's hard to know what the stock is going to do. Like you said, I think there's a lot of positive. I have to start thinking about the market. There's a lot of positive sentiment around the hotel space, and there has been. Of course, buddy boy. So I would say that's a bullish indicator for it. There's a lot of signs that are saying that it should continue to go up, at least consolidate at minimum. There's a lot of positives for it to continue to trend upwards. So that's what I would say. So I would say I'm more bullish than bearish at the moment. I would say there would probably need to be a lot of negative news to drive this stock significantly lower in the short term. The markets have been roaring lately, and I think they're still going to continue to be moving up. So I would say this is probably going to continue to move up with the market. And so I would say I'm more bullish than bearish. But if you have some, if you have a confirmation back from previous resistance, yeah. Yep. So it held this resistance, which was bullish, or support, sorry, which was bullish. And so I would say a break below this 420 to 388 range is bearish to me. And if it breaks below that range, then I wouldn't want to hold the stock anymore. In just my opinion. But it's looking like the stock wants to head higher. Somewhere in the $6 range would be my my most conservative target for it. Okay, next one. FAS. Okay, this is airlines, right? Or wait. Financials. Oh, financials. Yeah, financials are interesting because they took a giant dip. No, financials, yeah. Thank you for that. Okay, obviously they got murdered. Let's zoom in a little bit here. Let's see how they're looking since the COVID crash. Obviously they went sideways for a while. They were doing much worse than all the other sectors during the initial. I got it on the dip. Nice, man. Goodbye. I know we were talking about it in the Discord, or in the either Discord or the streams. So good pickup. We're gonna have to look at how long are you looking to hold this, King? Like you want to make this a long-term hold? Or you want to swing it over the next couple weeks to a month or so? 25K profit. Gang, gang, bruh. I won't take credit for that, but I'll let our Discord take credit for it. So at previous high. So more long term. Let's look at some lines here. Okay. Broke above the more last time high, which is good. Want to see how long it keeps running. Gotcha. Oy. So I'd say the main thing that we want to see, if you're saying more like how long it can run, is I'd really like to see the RSI go up and stay above 50 if we're going to have any more long-term momentum to the upside, outside of just like a little squeeze upwards to continue a downtrend like a lower highs. So we can see stocks typically in a bullish manner when it stays above 50. And we're not quite there yet. So I'm going to want to see RSI come up and go like this. You know, some kind of pattern up there to see a true bullish reversal on this. If we don't see that, if we kind of see it come up here and break down here and start coming like this, then that's going to be more bearish over the next few months. But in the short term, we do have some positive momentum. Obviously, we just broke out. Looks like we kind of just broke out. Let me get a little bit closer on here to see if I have my trend lines accurate enough or not. Yep, so it looks like we just broke above the more recent downtrend, so that is going to be a lot of positive momentum for it. But like I said, my biggest concern is lower highs for this. So this is not the best candle. It's not quite actually, sorry, let me reverse that. This is a good candle because it says there's a lot of buying pressure on the dip on Friday. And when we look at where it dipped off of, it dipped off the highs below COVID. And so that tells me that people bought up on that dip on the pre-COVID all-time high. And it also bounced off of the close on the day prior. So those are some bullish indicators for the short term. It looks like there's going to be a lot of resistance in this range. So I could see some sideways accumulation, just because you see kind of in this range, there's a lot of accumulation. So this stock could creep a little bit higher, but then say it kind of follows this trend line up, it's probably going to hit a lot of resistance in this area. So that's what I would be looking for. This is a pretty steep upward trend line, which makes me feel like it could be just a lower high. And that's what I'm going to be looking for, is a lower high. I would like it to more come back to this trend line for more of a long-term bullishness. So either create something like this eventually, or come here, you know, and kind of use that as a trend line for more long-term bullishness. But as a short squeeze, there could be a little bit more upside in the more short term. Let me see if I can find any more trend lines from the past that are significant for today. That's basically the same. I'm trying to look for some back test lines. So basically back test, I'm looking for parts prior that would now be resistance on the bottom side of the line, the bottom side of the trend line, to see if there's a point that we could see hit resistance as a lower high. Yeah, a lot of these trend lines are showing like another top if we can't break that through that accumulation zone. all this chaos. I'm gonna keep that one. I'm gonna keep that one. Let's get rid of. Where the hell is this other line? Oh, let's get rid of that one. I was planning to cash out before previous highs around the range. Gotcha. Would like to squeeze as much profit as possible. Yeah, I would. If we can get above back above this big red candle, I would sell half. Sell half your position. I don't know how big it is. Sell half your position in the accumulation zone, and if it breaks back down below, sell it before, you know, set a stop loss or a trailing stop loss on the way down. Just to lock in some profits higher, and then set a stop loss to sell out of the rest of the position. Because if the market continues to roar for the next few months, and my thoughts about where the market's headed is incorrect, then, you know, this could continue and break all-time highs and continue an uptrend. So, but it sounds like you know your trade pretty well, which is definitely the best place to start. So yeah, it looks like there is some back testing around all-time highs. If it can get that high to those back test lines. Yeah, that's about all-time. Actually, a little bit above all-time highs. So maybe that's irrelevant. But this trend line is actually really ugly. That's not even... Just get that out of here. That trend line's not even connecting anything. Any other stocks anybody wants me to cover? Got a couple more minutes on here. Oh, here's an important line. This is what I was looking for. I was like, I think there's going to be a lower back test line somewhere. And that's what I was looking for. If Ellie or Eli, or what was your name? I can't remember your name. Oh, thanks for the like, Chew, on Facebook. Appreciate it, man. Let me see. I think I saw you in the chat. I think Ali asked for a SPY analysis. Ali's still in the chat. I'll finish the stream with that. Is he? If any of you guys have subbed to my Dill Chill Trades YouTube, I really appreciate it. We've grown from basically to 72 subscribers in the last month. So thank you guys for that support. We're at like 115 or something on Twitch, and we have like 10 subs. So I appreciate that, guys. You guys are awesome for all the support. I would say a lot of you guys in here that I see are kind of our OGs. Like Holmes, you're a Sunday OG at this part. King, you're an everywhere OG. I always see this Discord for streamers. I think that might be a bot. Noriel, you know who you is. Gatsby, you look like a newer name, but I appreciate you being in here. I always see Commander Root 2. I don't know if that must be a bot as well. But yeah, we appreciate all the support, guys. We're continuing to try to grow the community, and we're super excited about that. King, if you're here, there's a little back test line that I would take a peek at from back here. This kind of 114 to 116 range could be a back test line that you want to keep an eye out for, that it couldn't, if it doesn't break above. So if it comes back and back test that line and breaks below this trend line, if it's starting to get a little iffy. So just keep an eye on that. But okay, there's a couple things I want to do. The first thing I want to do, so something that I've been analyzing a lot lately is looking at the QQQ to SPY ratio. This is something that I've been keeping an eye on pretty closely. So basically it's just QQQ divided by SPY. And so this shows you how basically tech is performing to the S&P 500. And so we saw the breakout, when was that? At the beginning of the month. And that's kind of when all these tech companies started going ham, especially the small cap names. And that's why I've been talking about them a lot on my YouTube channel, is because I saw this breakout. And so I saw some of these really high, these names that people love, like NNDM, PLTR, Sorry guys, Plug is a new one that people getting a hold of. These are some of the names that people love that are performing well, because tech has broken out compared to the S&P 500. And so this is kind of a breakout that I've been looking at. And so this is something I'm continuing to keep an eye on, because we are getting into like a pretty significant resistance area on this. That's a pretty big resistance area. We are bouncing back off of, I would say anywhere in this area, honestly, is a lot of support and resistance. This is the biggest area that we're going to have to watch for a pullback to. So I would recommend everyone go on Trading Views, or whatever the hell this program's called. What's it called? Yeah, Trading Views. I go on Market Beats and Trading Views, because if you go to tradingviews.com, they bug you with like, sign up, free 7-day trial. If you go to Market Beat and you type in a stock and go to charts, then they don't bug you at all through Market Beats. A little hack tip for everybody. But if you have another platform like Thinkorswim or something, that I think you can still do ratios on there. I'm not sure. But this is something that I've been keeping an eye on, and you can just see how much accumulation is on here. So if we get crazy volume in NASDAQ and in tech names over the next couple weeks, we could see this test this all-time high ratio again, which means tech stocks are going to continue to break out for, I'd say, at least the next month. Let's draw some trend lines to figure out when that breakout might come to an end. As you can see, tech has just dominated the S&P 500 for years, as you would think it would. Those trend lines are irrelevant. Let's go more recent. Try to figure out there's some back test lines. Lol. It's so funny when I'm charting and I just end up finding like a trend line somewhere. Lol again. See where this one's at. Lol again. Okay. So yeah, we're heading into a significant resistance area for tech, and that could potentially be calling that tech's going to slow down into the next month if we don't break out. If we do see massive volume coming into the stock market and keep an eye on this ratio, tech could continue to outperform the rest of the market. And if tech continues to perform the rest of the market, then those little small cap names I've been talking about, anything you're holding that's more speculative, like PaySafe. What else did we cover in this stream that was tech related? I can't even remember what I covered at this point. But this isn't a ratio that I always look at. But we are coming into resistance, which tells me that we could be seeing a peak in the market. And that's kind of been my sentiment lately, is that we're reaching a peak in the market. I don't think we have much more upside at this point. Back in, when was it? Back in April, I called that we don't have more than 10% upside in the market. And I'm sticking with that. I still don't believe we have more than 10% upside. That's kind of been my mantra since that beginning of April range. And I still feel the same way in the short term. So yeah, we're just seeing, like, I talk about it every week, and I've talked about it on all the streams, and I feel like I'm just, broken record at this point, but we're just seeing crazy divergence, and it's going to crash like COVID. I don't think it's going to crash like COVID, and the only reason I say that is because there's just so much Fed money in the market. Like, the Fed is just, I'll bring it up on QE chart. So when you look at the Federal Reserve and how much they're buying, it's ridiculous. And until we see this slow down, like, look at this. Over the last, let's come in a little bit more. Since COVID hit, they're actually started buying a little bit. Yep. Ironically, they bought before, actually, I think true COVID had already hit by February in the U.S. So obviously they bought all this money. They put all this money in the market. I know. I was joking. Lol. But you see this crazy move. And they're still increasing, but obviously the increasing has been slowing. But when we even come into like the last few days, Like, this is June 9th, June 23rd. They're still buying at June 23rd. That was like 4 days ago. And so until the Fed actually slows down their purchasing, then the market is not going to crash, or we're not going to enter a bear market. If we start seeing interest rates and governments and QE slow down and or start decreasing, then I think we can get more into a bear market in the stock market. But I think until now we'll just see some small corrections. And so what I've been seeing is on every chart you just see crazy divergence. Like here, I mean, we broke divergence, but we're just seeing RSI be really high in the past, but we're seeing prices be, what is that? It was 290 at that peak. It was 270 at that peak, and now we're at 426. So there's just giant divergence happening in the market on every time frame. Daily divergence happening, like same thing. RSI hit a super big high, lower. Daily divergence. We're just seeing divergence everywhere. And so eventually it's going to lead to a correction. And as I've said multiple times, I think that's somewhere in July or I remember my June, July, August. July, August range. End of July is kind of what I'm looking at, to early August as where we'll see that correction in the market. And that's why I'm starting to leverage my position, my portfolio. So for anyone in here, leveraging is, well, first I'll say is, if you have anything that's super high risk, that say if S&P 500 crashed 10%, that stock would go down 30-40%. Those are the kind of things that you want to start considering getting out of in the next few weeks, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. And holding on to things that you think won't see a crazy crash if we see a small correction in the market. And holding on to those positions and just buying on the dips. That's what I'll be doing for some of my positions, is just buying on the dips on those. And then right now it's starting to build a hedge in the next few weeks. So a hedge, as we've talked about a lot in our Discord, but a hedge is just buying something that's you're going to make money when the market goes down. So we've talked about SQQ a lot, which is a leverage short for the NASDAQ. XPXS, which is a inverse 3-time leverage downside for the S&P 500. You can open up put options on the S&P 500 or NASDAQ. These are things that you want to start doing, I would say, in the next few weeks. Start coming up with a game plan of how to put in a hedge on your portfolio when we do see a small correction in the market in the next couple months. I'm going to end it there. It's 11:30 here in Texas. But again, thank you guys, everyone who's in the chat. Really appreciate it, guys. New VIP King and Holmes. Ooh, y'all got upgraded, boys. Appreciate you coming back every week. We really appreciate the support. And I really hope you guys are learning something. What's the hedge made without shorting a stock? So I would say a put. Because a put, I mean, is technically not. I've only taken long positions so far. So if you play options, I would say a put. You can just buy a put for, say, I don't know, out until like November or something would probably be a safe range for a put option. If you don't want to get into the options market, like King said, SQQQ or XP, I think it's XPXS is also another one. Just Google inverse funds or inverse market stocks, and you'll see a list of things. Some are leveraged, some are not. Understand your risk. So SQQQ, how that works is if NASDAQ goes down 1%, you make 3%. But if NASDAQ goes up 1%, you lose 3%. So it is a higher risk way to leverage that. And I would say I typically don't like to hold those for more than a couple months. It's really complicated in how they function. But if you hold them too long, they start kind of, you're not going to, so say that S&P 500 goes down 10%, but it's over like the course of a year, your inverse fund isn't going to make 30% because of how they're changing things over time, it might be 20% or 15%. The rate changes over time, but those are ones that you can definitely short. You can short the market without shorting a stock. So I would say start considering those in a couple weeks. We could, if we start continue to see a lot of volume in the markets, we could see a violent breakout in the NASDAQ over the next month. I would say we could see a violent breakout, and I would say that could be calling an intermediate top for the market. So just start thinking about it. I would say in a couple weeks, buy something and put a stop loss of maybe 5% or something, and then so you don't lose too much money on the downside. And then if the NASDAQ or the SPY keep going high, it goes up another 5%, then open a new position and put a 5% stop loss. I made money with this when the Feds wouldn't shut up. Yeah, there's definitely ways to make. I made a little money too on one of the pullbacks. I think it was on this SPY though. But yeah, Holmes, come to our Discord. We're always talking about it. Yeah, I feel you managing longs. I get it. Come to the Discord. We're constantly talking about it. If you haven't been in there already, I don't know if I've seen you post anything. But yep, I'm gonna sum it up there, guys. I really appreciate everyone who's come in. We got some slack from the StockTwits post, but no hard feelings. I know some people just aren't gonna like that, but we're trying to help the community out here, and sometimes that's what you got to do. So I think we had more people like it than not like it. So 69 subscriber, lol. That's hilarious. But I would like you guys' feedback. Like, what do you guys like that we're doing and we're not doing? We want to make sure and continue to build Stock Talk Game around what you guys want. That's our point. It's not about what Nate and I want to do. It's about what you guys want and what you guys want the community to become. Because we're not the community. As Nate and I, like, we're all the community. We're all Stock Talk Game. And so we really want it to morph into what you guys want. So Holmes and King, like, please let us know the content you like and don't like. Put it in Discord. Like, I like when you guys talk about this on Friday night or Saturday nights, or I like when you talk about this on Sunday nights, or Dylan, I like when you put these kind of videos on the YouTube channel. This is very helpful. Just let me know those kind of things that we can keep building Stock Talk Game around, and as we continue to kind of build the community and what it looks like. But like I said, for the 5th time, stopping the stream there. Appreciate it as always, guys. Y'all are the best. The new VIPs in the chat. And we'll see you next week. We'll be gaming on Wednesday, as we always do, and we'll be talking about stocks and gaming on Saturday, and then back to charting on Sunday. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good night, and I hope that your week is extremely successful in the stock market. Hope you make a ton of money.